is one going 7. But I think Montreal has a little bit more gas in the tank. I see them going in and knocking off the Ottawa Senators in 7 games. You still have Brian Gionta. You still have PK Subban, who of course himself will be a guy who will be sniffing at his first ever Norris Trophy. What a beast. After holding out for a few games after the lockout, came back in great form and is still the beast on the Le Habitants blue line. Fantastic. Next series. I have, in the only sweep, the Capitals sweeping the Rangers. Avry, you lost your mind? No, I'm quite sane. Another team that was dead in the water early on. New coach, new philosophy, going from the Dale Hunter style to Adam Oates, which is all about flash and pizzazz and playmaking, instead of being very defensive, which is what Dale Hunter had this team playing last year in the playoffs. I do think guys like Ovechkin are going to make things happen. I think Ovechkin's going to make things happen. Backstrom, Mike Green. And the Rangers, I think their time as a playoff team is coming to a close. They're tuning out John Tortorella. Their axe getting old. I think it'll be more Henrik Lundqvist keeping this team afloat. I think Washington takes it in 4 games. And then the last series. Toronto beating Boston. Yes, you heard me right. The Boston Bruins go down in 7 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Is that nutty? You know, some are going to say, oh, are you drinking the Leafs Kool-Aid now? No, I'm not. I've liked how James Reimer has stepped up this year for this team. I like how Joffrey Lupul has come back from injury and suspension and been one of the leaders. And Dion Phaneuf, a guy who many thought earlier was immature, has turned into a great captain on this Leafs team. And Nazem Kadri, the guy who took heat from everywhere in the world, stepped up and had close to a 20-goal season this year. I love Nazem Kadri. This is a guy who had almost every Tom, Dick, and Harry criticizing him. For what? No good reason. And of course, Ron Wilson took every chance he could to take a shot at his own player.
Playoff action. That's all that matters right now.
How was the Calgary Expo? How was that for you, Mr. Judge Dredd?
That was quite the time, actually. A good time. And got to meet a lot of people. Got to meet one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, Bret the Hitman Hart, along with Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Good time. Got to go listen to them. Got an autograph from the Hitman, which was pretty good. Got to meet some cool people. And, of course, anytime you get to dress up as Judge Dredd, it's a good time in my book.
No, of course. You mentioned Bret Hart. How did you not let Bret Hart put you in a sharpshooter, Vic? How did that not happen?
To be honest, I don't know if he can do the sharpshooter anymore. He's looking a little rough up close, but I didn't want anything to do with the Hitman. No matter how old he is, you still don't want to mess with him.
No, it's true, but you never know. You know, if he put you in it, though, you know, you can call for the bell like Earl Hebner did years ago, and you'll be saved from losing to Bret Hart.
Yeah, I guess all I gotta do is put on my acting chops like Shawn Michaels did and smash the ring like I knew nothing about it, and run off to the back with Triple H guarding me the whole way.
Yeah, exactly. And well, Vic, I was talking earlier, the playoffs are here. I can smell it. I've stopped shaving, and I will not shave until June 27th again. Now, let me talk to you, Vic, about the playoffs. How amped up are you that we are in the postseason now, Mr. Michaels?
I'll be a lot more amped up if our team was in the postseason, but that isn't going to happen anytime soon, I guess. But other than that, I'm just happy playoff hockey is back. And you look at all the sports, and personally, I think the Stanley Cup playoffs is probably the greatest postseason of the 4 North American sports. And with the matchups we got, there's some good ones. Of course, San Jose, Vancouver is going to be one to watch. I'm actually looking forward to Pittsburgh and the Islanders. That's another one. But yeah, overall, some great matchups, and this is where the stars are born, the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs.
No, of course, most definitely, Vicky. Let's go through the series now. Right now, Minnesota-Chicago. Shockingly, Minnesota is up 1-0. What's your call for that series? I mean, no Nick Backstrom in net for Minnesota. He's hurt now. Do you think they have a chance at taking this series beyond 4 or 5 games, Vic, against the Blackhawks?
Yeah, even before hearing about Backstrom, I think a lot of people wrote off the Minnesota Wild, and how can you blame them? Because the Chicago Blackhawks are such a solid team from top to bottom, and if their goaltending can't stay solid, whether it's Crawford or Emery, whichever one of those guys goes, I think the Chicago Blackhawks are one of the favorites to come out of the West. So going into this series, I had Chicago in 5. It is only one goal right now, so I suspect that the Blackhawks will come back in this one.
No, I have to agree with you there. And it is only one goal because I mean, my philosophy is how do you stop Patrick Kane if you're Minnesota? Who's on that roster can stop Jonathan Toews and Patrick Sharp? I mean, not many guys in Minnesota can do that. Cal Clutterbuck, I doubt that, even though he scored the first goal of this series.
Yeah, this is a Minnesota Wild team that, frankly, is probably lucky to be even in the playoffs right now. So for them to take this game to 5, I think would be a success. But this Chicago team is just too stacked from top to bottom, and I really do think they will make quick work of the Minnesota Wild.
No, agree with you there, Vic. And of course, the next series right now, the St. Louis Blues against the LA Kings. I have the Kings. I do not see LA falling in the first round. I think LA right now, Dustin Brown, Dustin Penner, and so on and so forth, too much for St. Louis to handle in a 6 or 7 game series. What do you think about that matchup, Vic?
Yeah, that LA team is another one of those teams that's just too good to go out this early. I think I heard this morning that Penner is going to be on their 4th line. So if you got a guy like Dustin Penner who's on your 4th line, that says just how good your team is. And once again, I think this will be a good series. St. Louis is a good young team, but like I just said, they are a young team. So I think this one could go to 6, possibly 7. I don't know, but I do have the LA Kings winning this one. And to be honest, I think Ken Hitchcock's job is on the line. It's kind of surprising to say that, but there have been a lot of rumors lately that not a lot of the players are really appreciating Ken Hitchcock as of late. He's been a little too hard on his players, and I've heard some rumors that he's lost his locker room. So if that is possible, if the Blues do not escape the first round, Ken Hitchcock could be out of a job.
That would be interesting because, Ken Hitchcock, he's one of the last real old-school hard coaches because, in Dallas, they didn't like him much. He was always hard on guys. In Philadelphia, much the same way. I know in Dallas, the old joke Mike McDonald told me when he was on the show years ago is that they always gave him jokes because of the fact that Ken Hitchcock, we've all seen him. He's not exactly the most slim guy in the world. He's always poked jokes at him back in the day. So I guess with the modern player now, being hard as nails doesn't work anymore on the modern NHL player.
Oh, he's a great coach, one of the best coaches in the game. But when you're dealing with a lot of young guys, when you're really hard on them, it starts to wear after a while, and I think that's what's happened in St. Louis. Of course, when Hitchcock came in, he kind of revitalized that team, brought them back to the forefront of the Western Division. But I think since that happened, the locker room, I guess you could say, they're kind of getting sick of him, and they're not kids, and when you start to treat people like kids, it starts to get a little annoying after a while.
No, of course. Well, I do have LA winning that series. I think we both can agree that will happen. And of course, Detroit and Anaheim. In our generation, Vic, for you and myself, we haven't been alive long enough to see the Wings go into a series as an underdog. And that is happening right now. They're the 7th seed playing Anaheim. And even though you have Henrik Zetterberg and you have great goaltending in Jimmy Howard, I think it'll be a battle for them to knock off the Anaheim Ducks right now. What do you think of that, Vic?
Yeah, I think this series is the one that possibly, if any underdog is going to do it, I think it's the Detroit Red Wings. And like you said, ever since our whole lives, it's almost been the Detroit Red Wings contending for the Cup every single year. So you've grown to know that the Red Wings have always been in it. They've always been in it for the Cup. And I think this is another year. Of course, not at the top of the division like usual, but they're still in the playoffs. That's all that matters. And I think if any one of these teams are going to upset, I think it is the Detroit Red Wings because they just have too much experience. And if their goaltending can stay solid, just like Chicago's. Their depth, of course, not quite there like in previous seasons. The defense a little weaker. But at the same time, I think Detroit could pull this one off. Still picking Anaheim to win this, but my sleeper pick would be the Detroit Red Wings to upset the Anaheim Ducks in 6.
Okay, woof. I don't know. I think Anaheim right now, their firepower, I think is too much. You had Ryan Getzlaf, Corey Perry, Bobby Ryan. But then look at guys like Saku Koivu and Timo Solani, guys who are 40-plus or nearing 40, and in top 10 team scoring. Anaheim is no chop liver when it comes to the veteran presence themselves.
Yeah, and you got to look at their depth. Guys like Cogliano, Daniel Winnick, Francois Beauchemin has stepped up huge for them this season. So Anaheim, yeah, they are a good team, great team. It's going to be interesting to see how they perform in the playoffs. They won a cup before, so you got to bet guys like Penner and Perry Getzlaf, they're going to be hungry for a cup here. So it's going to be interesting. I do think the Anaheim Ducks will win, but I won't be surprised if Detroit pulls it off.
Okay, it's going to be interesting. Of course, moving to the Eastern Conference, good sir, of course, Toronto, and we'll do the last Western Series first. San Jose, Vancouver. I think almost everyone outside of BC wants to see the Sharks knock off the Vancouver Canucks. Am I correct in that statement, Vic?
No, you're not 100% correct, me included. Nobody can stand the Canucks. Just a lot of arrogant players on that team, and I guess it doesn't hurt to cheer against a team like that. But with that said, you got to think the San Jose Sharks got a little heat under their rear ends coming into this playoffs, because if they get another first-round exit, what does that say? You got to bet the head coach has got to go, even the GM at this point, because this San Jose Sharks is a team that's been expected to win a cup for probably the last 5 or 6 seasons.
No, it's true. It's true. I mean, that'll be interesting to see Doug Wilson get canned, because he's brought in so much top-end talent. He's kept Patrick Marleau here. He's brought in Joe Thornton. He had Danny Heatley, and the fact that the Sharks team still has not won anything, it's shocking, because I don't know what it is. I don't know why the Sharks are still the biggest chokers in the Western Conference in the past 10 years. It makes no sense, Vic.
Yeah, I think if they go in the first round, there's going to be some big moves in the offseason for them. A lot of names have been thrown around. I heard Logan Couture. I think they'd be crazy to trade him. I think if anybody, you keep anybody on that team, it would be him and build around. But Joe Thornton's name's been tossed around. Of course, Marlowe's for the last couple of years. They tried Heatley. It didn't work out. They brought in all these other players. Ryan Close's gone now. So, yeah, I don't really know what direction they can go. But I do have the Vancouver Canucks winning this one. This one could go to 7. I picked them to win in 5. But just because I picked them doesn't mean I can't cheer against them.
No, that's true. That definitely is true, Vic. And, of course, moving to the Eastern Conference, Toronto and the Boston Bruins. I mean, this is a series. Toronto and Boston haven't met in the postseason since 1974. A whole different generation saw this matchup. So, I mean, it's been a long time. This is a series, everyone wants to see Toronto do well, because you've got Kadri, Lupo, Reimer. I mean, how can you not only cheer against this Leafs team making their first postseason appearance in 9 years?
Yeah, speaking of teams that we like to cheer against, that's probably number 1 on the list, the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially being out west. And we were talking about that on Bradcast Sports last week. Just how funny is it? Brian Burke, he brings in all these players. He brought in Lupo, he brought in Kessel, he drafted Kadri. He basically built this team, and now that they're in the playoffs, he doesn't even get to live through this and experience any of the glory. How satirical, how ironic is that Brian Burke does not get to enjoy the fruit of his looms?
No, it's true. It is ironic. And even more ironic, the first matchup is against the Boston Bruins. I mean, it just adds to it.
I know, yeah. I was a little disappointed, though. I kind of wanted to see a Montreal-Boston first round, because, those two teams always put on a heck of a show. It's always a great series. But with that said, I'm still excited to see Toronto-Boston. I think Boston will make quick work of the Maple Leafs. This game could be done in 4, possibly 5, because this Boston team, next to Pittsburgh in the East, is just a dominant force in that Eastern Conference. And they got 4 lines that can go any given night. Tuukka Rask has proved that he is a dominant number 1 goaltender in the NHL. So I look for the Bruins to make quick work of the Maple Leafs, and I can see the Bruins making it all the way to the conference finals easily this year.
Interesting. Boston in conference finals. All right, sir. And then, of course, next Eastern series, the Rangers and the Capitals. This is one where I think this is my series where I think Washington makes fast work of the Rangers. I just won in 4. What do you say about this series, Vic?
This is actually one I think could go either way. Both these teams, Washington, of course, we know, got hot at the right time. The Rangers were picked as a lot of people's favorites to win the Cup this season. Of course, the whole fiasco, Marian Gaborik, that didn't work out. But they still have a lot of firepower, so I wouldn't count out the New York Rangers quite yet. Of course, Henrik Lundqvist could possibly be the best goaltender in the NHL, so you can never count him out. But I actually think this series could go to 7. As long as Washington keeps up the momentum they have going into the playoffs, I think this would be a really good series, and I will pick the Washington Capitals in 7.
Okay, all right. You have a lot of 7-game series, Vic. You're calling it for a long postseason.
Well, it always makes it more exciting for the fans. But I do think the Minnesota Wild will be gone quickly. Out of all those teams, Minnesota will be gone first. Trust me.
Okay. Last 2 series here: the Islanders and Pittsburgh, and Montreal, Ottawa. Who do you have in these 2 series, Vic?
Of course, you can't go against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think this could go in 4. There's a quick one for you. This team is stacked. It is probably one of the best teams we've seen in years. in the NHL. So I think Pittsburgh easily defeats the Islanders. The Islanders still a young team. John Tavares looking very impressive, possibly the MVP of the year. But I think the Islanders still have a lot to learn. They'll be gone quick as well. And as far as Ottawa and Montreal goes, this is another interesting one. I actually think this could go both ways. Montreal, I think, overachieved this season, and I wouldn't bet on them in this postseason because as good as Carey Price has been, the rest of the team has been equally worse. So I don't know. I would like to see Ottawa upset the Canadiens. I think it would be exciting for the fans, and it would be something to talk about. So I'll go out on a limb. I'll take the Ottawa Senators in 6.
Oof. For a team that was supposed to end up where the Oilers finished this year, I mean, that's bold, Vic. You really are going on a limb saying that they're going to knock off Montreal. I'm going to go to the Habs in 7. But I do think the Pittsburgh Islanders series, I think Islanders have the ability to steal 1 or 2 games from the Penguins with guys like Matt Moulson and John Tavares.
Well, with the way those two have been playing, it's quite possible. And you got to think the Pittsburgh Penguins are, I don't want to say underestimating the Islanders, but how can you not underestimate a team like the Islanders? This team has been a joke in the NHL for almost the last decade. So I think it's quite possible. The Islanders get hot. Maybe Fleury lets a couple quick ones in. You never know. The Islanders could push this game farther.
No, they most definitely could, Vic. And before I let you go here, got to ask you about your boy, Timothy Richard Tebow, being released from the New York Jets. I think they mishandled him in so many ways. I think he's taking unwarranted slack because he never played in New York. What are your thoughts on him being released by the Jets today?
I think this is a godsend. This is like Team Tebow is thanking God right now to get out of that dismal organization known as the New York Jets. Just a joke of a franchise right now. Rex Ryan guaranteed a Super Bowl the last 4 years. That hasn't happened. I think if anybody needs to go, it needs to be Rex Ryan. But with that said, I think this is a great opportunity for Tim Tebow to start over and get out of a bad situation, whether that's in the CFL, in the NFL. I'm sure somebody will take a chance on him in the NFL. Of course, we've heard rumors maybe Jacksonville, Miami, who knows where. But I really do think Tim Tebow does deserve to be a quarterback in whichever league, and it's up to him to prove that. So whether that's in the NFL or the CFL, I wish him the best of luck wherever he ends up.
No, of course, same here. But I hate the fact that people say, you know what, you see, he's released, he's done. No, he's not done, because how do you do the quarterback and not play much? And if you look at his record, I mean, he's won playoff games, and but I will say this, though. To improve his arm accuracy, I would say, why not spend 2 or 3 years in Montreal, learn from Andy Calvillo and Jim Popp and Dan Hawkins, and become a better quarterback, and then come back? Because if his arm improves, he's 6'3", 240. He could, in time, become a great CFL quarterback. It's possible.
Yeah, like that seems like the smartest move. Not a lot of people know about the CFL down there, so I guess they aren't really putting any money into that bet. But I do think Tim Tebow coming to the CFL would be a great opportunity for him. Montreal did say he would be a backup. I think any other team in the CFL would love to have Tim Tebow. And money drives. Money is the root of everything. Can you imagine the jersey sales wherever Tim Tebow goes, whether it's NFL or CFL? The merchandise that this guy carries with him is massive. And I know personally, having Tim Tebow come to Commonwealth will make me more than happy to go down and watch that game and spend my money on a Tim Tebow jersey. So yeah, like I said, Tim Tebow, wherever he ends up, I think he will be successful. And why not follow in the footsteps of guys like Jeff Garcia, Doug Flutie, who's that one guy from Cleveland? He came up.
Cleveland.
Cordell Stewart.
Cordell Stewart. Yeah. So he didn't play in CFL.
A lot of these quarterbacks, they come up, they learn their trade, they get better, and this is a passing league in the CFL, so it wouldn't hurt, and let's hope it happens.
No, it wouldn't hurt at all. And Vic, so on Sunday night, who's on top for your guys' show this weekend, Mr. Michaels?
I actually don't know right now. There's a couple names out there. Brad did tell me someone. It escapes me right now. I can't remember. It's been a long week. I just got back from Calgary, so really. But yeah, it'll be a good show this week. Bradcast Sports. Check us out, Blog Talk Radio. We'll have a good guest for you guys, and we're creeping up to episode 100, so you can expect a good event there. And just keep it up and keep tuning in.
Fantastic stuff, Vic, as always. Great stuff, sir.
All right, Avery, you take care, and we'll talk to you later.
Of course, later, Vic.